Hello and welcome to Insurance Business TV. QBE North America has released its US commercial construction outlook, developed in partnership with controlled risks. The report explores near-term challenges while highlighting opportunities. I'm joined by Ryan Powers, SVP, Head of Construction at QBE North America, who will help us unpack the trends on what they mean for commercial contractors and insurers. Ryan, can you give us a high-level outlook for the commercial construction industry over the next 2 to 3 years? And what are the key trends and risks shaping the industry?
Appreciate the opportunity, Chris, and excited to share some of our observations. So, I've spent my entire career serving this industry, and it still finds a way to impress me with its resilience. I went back and I looked at some of the key concerns of our contractors at this time last year. I don't think any of your listeners are going to be surprised to hear topics like labor shortage or cost overruns at the top of that list. And guess what? We're right back where we were then. But maybe those big macro themes seem to never resolve themselves. But the fundamental differences in how we're thinking about those topics heading into 2026, those maybe have changed. Now we're going to start talking about issues like immigration policies and forecasting the impact of tariffs. Also, despite the constantly swirling headwinds, our clients are remaining positive when looking at their pipeline and planning their future. With changing economic environments, our country's future businesses present opportunity in the form of private infrastructure projects. You can't go to a single industry forum today without getting excited around the proliferation of data centers. And these are quite often large billion-dollar projects, also require a significant amount of power to run these massive units. And as the demand for AI grows, so does our need to build these facilities here in the US. And our contractors are lining up to get a part of that new economy.
Thank you. I mean, as you address, the report highlights persistent labor shortages despite record high employment. What are the reasons behind the shortage and what strategies are construction firms using to address this labor gap?
Over decades, the industry has been relentlessly looking to improve its skilled labor pipeline through predominantly a grassroots effort. So it's been become commonplace to see large contractors investigating in training programs, partnering with vocational schools and trade associations. That's been a lot of education directed towards the youth of our country that highlights the benefits of a career in one of the trades. And now we layer on top of that the industry's heavy reliance on immigrant labor. About a quarter of our construction industry's workforce is foreign born. Not only do we need to continue to educate and entice new entrants into the industry, but now we're starting to see corporate advocacy for legal pathways to citizenship. I expect that we're going to continue to see those vocational partnerships, but also increases in pay, retaining those employees through additional advancement opportunities. And now, look, I'm a casualty underwriter at heart. We tend to see the best contractors maintain low turnover levels. Since we know that inexperienced workers have a higher frequency rate at job sites, it's imperative that job site safety is at the top of our collective priorities.
Thank you. So I wonder if we can talk about tariffs and how they've driven up material costs. How's this impacting project timelines and budgets, and what can companies do to mitigate these risks?
Yeah, Chris, that's a really good call out. So it's an area where the story could change from day to day, and it has throughout the course of the year. What we're seeing right now is a cost surge of essential metals, specifically steel, aluminum, and copper. It wasn't that long ago that our contractors were contending with raw material shortages coming out of the pandemic. Now, what that was due to manufacturing bullwhip effect, and that is not what's happening today. But I bring it up because I think some of the remedies that we applied during that time are still applicable in today's environment. When we went through that, savvy contractors introduced cost escalation clauses in their contracts with owners, and many of them were able to secure them. A sharing of the uncertainty could smooth some of the sharp shift in cost. And also, it forced many contractors to consider alternative trade routes and partners. I believe that this recent experience will serve the community well again by flexing that muscle. As a cautionary note, whenever there's a change in raw material supply, heightened security around quality controls got to be taken. I anticipate that our American builders are going to adopt more domestically sourced materials, given that the margin for foreign metals has narrowed. So when you add up the need for new trade routes, increased in local demand, heightened quality controls, and contract flexibility, I think it's fair to expect project costs and overruns and delayed projects to some degree.
Thank you. So, I mean, so everything you've been saying, despite current challenges, the outlook still remains positive for the next few years. What factors are driving this optimism? Which areas are expected to lead the way?
Change doesn't mean bad, right? Like it's just different from what we knew before. There's plenty of reason for optimism here. I mentioned earlier that the growing demand for data center projects as a here and now type of opportunity, but there's more to that. It's no secret that our country wants to produce more domestically. Contractors can now take advantage of recent tax cuts that's going to allow them to leverage their capital position more effectively. Some are redeploying capacity in the industrial sector. We're seeing a lot of M&A activity to continue to build momentum, particularly around the service trades. And then there's also been significant political pressure on our foreign partners to invest more in domestic projects. So we expect to see some of those investments in the form of clean energy, advanced manufacturing, and technology-driven projects over the coming years.
Thank you. So, I wonder if we can talk about how insurance partners can help construction firms navigate this ever-evolving risk landscape.
Look, sometimes it's hard to slow down so that you can go fast. I believe that the best positioned contractors are going to be the ones that can take a step back, assess how these risks will affect subcontractor availability, project timelines, margins. The ones that have lined up a plan B, C, and D, they're going to be the ones that are they're best suited to mitigate those risks. And carriers, we got a duty to be by our contractor side and understand their business. We owe them our ability to listen and to share quality and safety best practices. When you have a shifting workforce, that might present safety vulnerabilities. When you have alternative trade routes, that might introduce concerns around faulty materials and ultimately construction defect claims. A proactive approach to adopting enhanced safety practices around those newer employees and a focused quality control program through experienced risk control partners would be a wise path. It's impossible to calculate the cost of a loss that doesn't occur, but our most effective tactic to combat them is through preventative preparation.
Thank you. A really fascinating session, and a huge thank you, Ryan. And thank you for watching Insurance Business TV.